Now at this point, I think the next thing I want to do is bolt this front cover on so I can drop the cam in. And then I can put the oil pickup tube on and maybe even put the oil pan on. Maybe not quite. So I got to clean this front cover up. I've got all this stuff in here that needs to get cleaned. I'm going to go in there with a wire brush and just clean this up as good as I can. Well, I was warned about this. Another mechanic friend of mine told me my Interstate McBee kit was going to be missing some gaskets. And he's right. I don't have any of the gaskets for this cover. That is, well, it's a timing case, I guess. This bolts to the front of the engine here, and I don't have any of those gaskets. I got these two, those ones, and that one. And then this is my pan gasket in here. Oil sump pickup gasket. All those gaskets are for that front cover. And all those gaskets are from the rear cover or the timing case. And I don't have any of those. The old ones are a little bit old and crunchy, so I don't want to reuse them. So now I'm going to have to order some more pieces. That's kind of annoying. So now you know, if you get the Interstate McBee kits for the DT-466E, you're not going to get the gaskets for the timing case that bolt the timing case to the block. You have to order those separately. So in the meantime, I'm going to go back to the front cover. And this cover, the customer had a broken front cover, so they bought this new one to put on there. But the new one was different. So if you didn't know that, these DT-466Es, there are two different front covers. There's a first generation and a second generation. The first generation cover does not have these bolts. These are extras that were put into the second gen one, probably to stop leaks and stuff like that. Other than that, it's the same cover. There you go, first gen cover and second gen cover side by side. You can take a look at those and see the difference. The only difference between them, except for that big hole right there, is these two, that one, and that one. Other than that, those covers are the same. Okay, so the second gen cover, like this one, has these extra holes, which means that they need to be drilled into the block for this to work properly. And so if you don't have the second generation block, you're not going to have those extra holes in here. You can probably drill them and tap them if you want to. I don't know about drilling into that block though, so I'm not going to do it. But anyway, the issue that they had was that these obviously are going to leak oil. So they had filled these all full of JB Weld to make it so it didn't leak. But the problem is, that's your high pressure reservoir right there. So it just pushed the JB Weld right out the front. So then what they did is they TIG welded over top of those holes. But the welds didn't seal, so it's still leaking. So we still got to fix this thing. So here's the plan. I've already done one of these holes. I drilled this out for a 1/4 inch pipe plug, and then I tapped it. But then the problem is the tap has too much taper on it, and it's too long, and the plug wouldn't go in flush. It has to be flush or a little below so it's not sticking past, right? Because that boss comes flush right to the block. So if you put a plug in there, it can't stick past, otherwise it'll hit the block and push the cover away. Okay, so I took an old tap that was damaged and I cut the end off of it so it'll go deeper down. And now I can get my plug down in far enough where it goes a little bit past the end where it's flush. So now I can Teflon tape it or put some gasket stuff on there, put that plug in, and that's gonna effectively plug off that hole and make it solid again. But I have to do it in 2 stages. I gotta drill it out first, then I gotta tap it with the longer tapered tap, and then I gotta tap it with the shorter one. It's a little bit of work, but it'll do it. The big problem that I'm having is that whatever they put inside these holes, the weld or whatever it is, I don't know, but I can't drill through it. It just, my drill bit drills good and then it hits that and it just stops drilling. So I don't know what that is, but it doesn't drill good. Okay, so I put my pipe plug in there like that. Now it's in there really good and proper. And it does not stick past. So that hole is plugged. Now I just have to do that for the other three and should be good. Okay, time to get back at this thing. I kind of got caught up on another project that was eating a lot of my time, trying to get it quickly finished and out the door. But I got all the rest of my missing parts in now, I think. These seals. So the master overhaul kit did not come with the front cover rear half gasket set or either of the gasket sets for the oil cooler. Had to order those all separate, so not really sure why a master overhaul kit doesn't come with all the gaskets for everything, but anyway, I was warned about that ahead of time with these engines, with these McBee kits anyway. All right, let me get these seals on and get this cover installed. Okay, we got 9 mounting bolts for the front cover. Throw them on there finger tight. They get blue Loctite on them. Okay, and then these bolts are supposed to be installed finger tight and then you torque them. So we'll take the old atomic off of kill mode and just put it on snug mode. Okay, then we'll get out the old Ford dyno and set that to 19 pounds of feet. There, now I should be able to drop the camshaft in place. Alright, I sent this camshaft in and had them polish it so that it's all kind of like new. So it should be nice and clean in here. On a lot of engines, you have to send your camshaft in when you send your block in if you're going to put new cam bearings in, because sometimes those bearings have to be sort of honed out to fit the journals of the crank so everything has the right clearance. Just want to make sure that's all nice and clean. Down here is the thrust plate. This plate bolts on, and you got holes in the gear right here and right there, so you can access those bolts when you turn it in the right spot. That's what holds the cam in there so that the cam can't walk in and out of the block. There, the cam is all lubed up, the bearings in the block are lubed, and now I can drop that guy into place. Actually, before I do that, I should put a little bit of oil in between here yet so that we don't have a dry surface there. That'll be a job for the squirt can because that other oil is a little bit thick for getting in there. I know you can't see what I'm doing here very good, but I'm just oiling the thrust flange here. Okay, let's drop it in there. You want to be very gentle putting that in because it's really easy to get it out of a line a little bit and then have the bearings get damaged by the edges of the bearing journals. It's easier to do it vertically like this than it is to do it horizontally. And so seeing as I have the engine up this way already, this just makes sense. Almost. I'm in the journals. I just have to move that flange a bit. I'm scared I'm gonna pinch my fingers here, so just gotta turn that a little more. Ow! I did pinch my fingers anyway. It's okay, I won't tell anybody if you don't. Rookies, eh? Pinching their fingers. Again, a little bit of blue Loctite on these bolts. This Loctite stick is really expensive stuff, but it's very convenient. On in there. Get the zippy-doo on snug mode again. Back up to this bolt hole here. Oh, look at that. I'm going to have to back this one out. Woo! Get on there. Woo, not that far. I'll show you why I needed to back that out. You can kind of see down inside that hole. That's a cover mounting bolt. And that is where the cam plate is, and I don't know if you can see that or not. What if I put some light on it? You can see how that bolt hole is not actually lined up. So then I had to loosen the other side back off again so that I can get this lined up. There we go. I can turn this one back. There. Like that. Now we torque it. Ford dyno set to 19 pounds a feet, just like last time. I got 19.4. Oh, 19.6. I got really happy on that one. That's all right. We're close. That's going to work. Make sure this thing spins nice and easy. Okay, I kind of lost track of the camera there, but when I torqued that up and I went to give this a spin, it went easy and then it had a hard spot. And then it got easy again and it had a hard spot. And I was like, what in the world is going on here? I right away was wondering if those cam bearings were not in there right or something. So what it wound up being was I loosened off the thrust plate and just kind of tapped the gear back and forth a little bit. And now it's nice and free. So it's something to do with that, where that thrust plate was sitting. And this thing walking around inside those bearings, it was having a bit of a tight spot there. Now it spins really nice and smooth. So something to keep in mind if you're doing one of these engines. What I should have done is I should have dropped the cam in and then spun it a little bit and then torqued it and then rechecked it. But I didn't spin it first. I just was getting a little too much hurry here, not paying attention to the small details. So anyway, that fixes that. So perfect. All right, timing gears. Now we get to do timing. Got to pull these guys apart, check your bearings out inside, replace them if needed, that kind of thing. Now I'm going to throw these on and we get to play with our timing marks. Okay, so on this crank gear somewhere, we have a timing mark. Oh yeah, right there. Right there, that little 0. So that's going to have to get pointed over here because that's where this gear is going to go. So if we drop this guy in place, that single mark right there is the one that lines with the crank, and that double mark right there is going to line with our upper idler gear. So if I just kind of set this like that, I have sort of an idea of how far I have to turn that crank. So I'm going to put 2 bolts back in here again. And then I can get in here, I can turn this guy. Somewhere around there, I can't even see. Where's my mark? Oh, it's over there. Let's see how close we are here. Oh, I would say that's about right there. I'm just going to adjust this a tiny bit more. There, that's pretty centered. And then if we look here, we should be at top dead center on number 1, right there. Where was I? I got sidetracked again. The tool truck showed up. You probably will not believe me, but my whole life, these two pliers have been in my toolbox since I was, I don't know, 14 years old maybe? These things don't even have names on them. I don't know what breed these are. I don't know who made them. I think I got these for Christmas one time. These are just China cheapos. But I try to take care of my tools, and these have lasted me a long time. But the teeth are getting kind of wore, and they're getting pretty loose, and they're just not good pliers anymore. It's about time I upgrade. All right, where was I? Okay, timing marks, right. So we got our timing marks lined up there. Next, we're gonna put our bolt in, which I oiled the cap a little bit, and red Loctite on the threads, which the book does not call for, but I did it anyway. Now that's going to go in there, and this gets torqued to, I'm going to double check, but I believe it's 470 foot-pounds. For context, that's about 5 times as much as I weigh. And for context, to the context, I'm being sarcastic. I'm just a skinny guy. Now, to get that much torque out of it, we need to move away from the Ford dyno, because there are no Fords that make that much torque. We got to move up to the Jeep dyno. You get up to 1,000 foot-pounds of torque, and up from there, that's when we get out the torque multiplier. And we call that the Cummins dyno. I double-checked it. It is 470 foot-pounds. So if I just throw the old Jeep dyno on there and yank on it, I'm just going to spin this block in circles. That's a lot of torque. Typically at 450 foot-pounds, I can almost hang off the end of that bar and it won't click. Well, this isn't a click bar, but the click style ones. So I got some rags here. I'm going to attempt to put my foot up against the side and then pull and see if I can do it or not. Otherwise, I may have to flip this down back onto the jack stands and then have somebody come here and hold this engine with a bar while I torque it. So we'll see how it works here. Who knows? Maybe this doesn't work at all. I'm not sure. Got to get this in the right spot where I can actually pull on it. I don't know. I don't know about this. No, I'm still moving the block. That was only 320. I got a long ways to go. It's just a little bit too high. My angles are all wrong here for this. No, can't do it. I got to 373. That ain't gonna work. I am not strong enough for that. So what that means is I'm just gonna keep on going here. But it means that later on I'm gonna need to go back and retorque these, which is kind of annoying. I don't like skipping steps like that. But if this was on one of those big engine stands that could actually hold it, that would be one thing, but this is not, and I don't have access to something like that, so you do what you gotta do, just don't forget. So the second gear is gonna go on here, and the double divots is gonna line up here, the double marks is gonna line up right there. I think it's in frame enough that you can see it. Nice amount of end play there. And then this single one is gonna line up with the single one on this gear. So let's see what that's going to look like. Okay, so same thing. You want to get some oil into these bearings with your oil can because you don't, like this is going together pretty dry. So when you first start the engine, you want to make sure there's lots of oil in those bearings because it won't get any splash lube for, you know, potentially a minute of running or that kind of thing. So, okay, there's our double mark right there. There's our single mark. So we're going to take our double mark and feed those two together there. And then you can see that we're not quite lining up here with this sitting in. So I'm going to just adjust that right there. There, just fits right in. So our single marks are lined up together. The cam is in time with the top idler gear. Our double marks are lined up here. So our top idler gear is in time with the bottom idler gear. And if we come around to this side, you can see that these two single marks are lined up as well. so the lower idler gear is in time with the crankshaft. Now let's see if I can torque that one. Now this bolt goes right, that bolt hole goes right into the coolant jacket, so you want to use some kind of thread sealer on here. I just used red Loctite on this and put quite a bit of it on. That'll seal it up as well, and it'll help hold that bolt in place. Oh, well, this one's only 240 pounds of feet, so the old Jeep dyno will make quick work of this one. Can almost do this without holding on to anything. That was 221, so we're getting close. Yeah, there we go. 240.2. Woo, woo, woo. There it is. Okay, so remind me later to come back and torque that one. Well, I'm going to have to take it back out and redo my Loctite because it'll be setting in the meantime, which is no good. You got to make sure you have enough gear play in all of these. You actually have to set up your dial indicator at an angle and measure that on each one of these gears. I'm not going to do that on camera because I don't have time. I got to get this going here. But it's very basic, very straightforward. The book gives you the spec. You just sit at 90 degrees to the tooth, rock your gear back and forth. When you're doing this gear, you have to jam a screwdriver in here so that that holds this one from moving, and then it's easy to check this one. It'll rotate that one a little bit, and same thing, jam these two up, and you can check your cam, and you just make sure that you're in spec. I'm assuming this one is going to be. If it's not, then we'll get back on camera, but otherwise, let's keep going. All right, so my gear lash checks out. We're towards the high end of the spec on the crank to lower idler gear here, but it's still within spec. Obviously the gear has some wear, but this is going to go for a long time yet, so not too worried about that. Just got myself set up here now to do our camshaft backlash, so let's see where we wind up here. 5 thou. Move the camera over here so you can see it better. Oop. Yeah, just a hair bit under 5 thou, just a shade less than 5 thou. So that's good. I'm allowed to have up to 13 thousandths on this one, so 5 thou is good. So at this point I'm ready to put this top cover on, so I think I'm going to flip this thing down, put it back on jack stands, and then I can get one of my boys down here to hold it with a bar. I'll torque up that bolt and then grease these gears all up and put that front cover on there. Yeah, something like that. So this thing is sitting on here pretty solid, so I'm just going to try it and see if I can make this happen here without rolling it off the stands. It is trying to roll some, but I did turn it some. I'm at 398 now. So no, it's too dangerous. I need to get somebody to hold this for me. Yeah, I got this guy here. He's going to hold that bar. We'll see what we can do here. 470 pounds of feet. Pounds of feet. Okay, ready?
Yep.
One more time. What do we got? 470.3. Perfect. Thank you.
No problem.